Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Journey to a Billion. I feel like with this particular podcast form style video, I think I want to call it quick chats because literally that's all I want to do. I just want to quickly chat with you about different things that are going on in the world that I have a very strong opinion about, and some of them not so much of a strong opinion, but I do want to talk about it because just want to give my perspective on different things that are happening in the world, especially from the lens of business or being in business. As a business owner, how I would feel if my company was in a position like that, as well as just from my perspective, if I have some advice on how that situation can be solved. Yeah, I would just like to start sharing stuff like that. So today we are going to be talking about the whole Netflix and cracking down on their password sharing debacle. So if you are interested in having that conversation, then stay tuned. Okay, so we all know that it's no secret that Netflix has a password sharing issue. Because if you are not sleeping on a rock, you know probably quite a bit of people who are either giving out their passwords to friends and family, or they're using another person's password. Now, why is this such a big problem? I mean, maybe it's simply because there are tons of streaming services that are now being offered, generally around the same price. And who's going to sit there and pay all of this money for all of these different services? This is the typical mindset of the everyday consumer. We're being bombarded with subscription service after subscription service. At some point, you're going to tap out. No one is making enough money to be able to purchase all of these subscriptions and be able to say, I have all of these different services that are popular. That's a lot of money, right? If you were to get the account that would allow for you to share your password with your family members or other people in your household, you would be looking at almost $60 a month for the top 4 services. And that's just 4. But there's so many that are being offered right now. I could totally understand why a lot of people ended up falling into the realm of password sharing. Because to be quite honest, if a friend has one particular service and then you have the other service, you guys swap passwords. It's kind of like you're getting a 2-for-1 deal. So I totally understand it, but is it good for business? And the answer is no. From a business standpoint, I totally understand why Netflix is going out of their way to be the bad guy, essentially. But to be honest, are they being the bad guy? It is in their terms of service that password sharing is illegal, especially if you're sharing a password with someone outside of your household. So with that being said, they are taking the leap to be the bad guy and crack down on something that has been happening for years now. It's quite interesting. So let's go over some of what is actually going on. Why do you think that they feel the need to have to do this? For starters, they're not the only player in the space right now, and they haven't been for a while. And to be honest, the playing field is actually becoming quite steep. They haven't had the best reputation over the past couple years, and to at one point be the big man on campus and the most popular person, to now being someone who's being ragged on. Someone is always talking trash about Netflix and how Netflix isn't that great anymore. I mean, that kind of started after Disney Plus jumped into the streaming game and launched their service, taking away a lot of valuable content that was on Netflix or that Netflix had a licensing agreement for. Some of that stuff is Daredevil and Luke Cage, just to name 2. There was a catalog of specific shows that they were licensing from Disney, and now they no longer have access to that content or to those licenses because Disney wants to use it on their platform. Now, they did get to keep what they created, so that's great, but they're no longer going to be able to create new content around those titles. And a lot of people were not happy with that, and I think that was kind of the start of more people becoming anti-Netflix. Okay, so you have the steep competition. What else? What else would cause them to want to do this? Well, they're losing lots and lots and lots of money. And what I mean by that is if there are 5 friends, they all live in completely separate houses. They all have their own families. One person is paying for a $10 Netflix account and they're sharing with 4 other families. That's $40 they're missing out on per month. And that's just at the lowest account that they offer. I think their accounts go up to like $30. So you could see how it could become a huge problem. And there were even reports stating that there were an upwards of 20 people using the same Netflix account, and none of these people lived in the same location. That's kind of crazy. Like, if you ask me, that's kind of crazy and team do too much. If you wanted to keep it under the radar, maybe share it with like 4 or 5 family members, not your entire frat, you know? So I can see why Netflix is like, okay, this is completely out of control. We're not just losing 1% as far as like, oh, only 1% of our users are sharing passwords. No, the percentages were increasing steadily every single year, to the point to where they were reporting potentially losing billions of dollars annually off of this particular situation. So I could totally see the concern, but then you have that, and you also have the fact that they are competing with other services that aren't necessarily as easy to share your passwords, especially outside of your household. And then you have some services where you know people aren't going to share it because it's attached to other stuff like Amazon Prime TV subscription service. No one is sharing that password because it's linked to their Amazon account. So Amazon really doesn't have to worry about that being an issue in particular. But if Amazon were to allow for you to separate your Amazon Prime TV subscription portion of your account from your Amazon shopping account, they would have the same issue. Like overnight, they would have the same issue. Why? Because they wouldn't have to worry about anyone shopping behind their back on their account. So let's talk about how in particular they are going to crack down on this. A couple of the things that they stated back in 2021, anyone who logged into their Netflix account or had a Netflix account was randomly sent a prompt to verify that they were authorized to use that account. And then once they say that they're authorized to use it, a code would then be sent to the primary account holder's email. And they had to then put that code into the device to be able to still use the Netflix account on that device. They're no longer going to use those tactics anymore. They've actually updated their tactics on how they're going to crack down on it. And one of the things that they said that they're going to do, they're going to randomly check to see if the device that's being used is actually logged into the Wi-Fi that's connected to the primary account holder's device or account. So I think they're going to make you register your Wi-Fi and sign into the account under a specific IP address. From there, all of the following accounts will then need to be connected to that same Wi-Fi connection, and every 31 days they're going to be monitoring this. So they're going to do random checks to make sure that every time you use a device that it is in that specific location. Now, they are going to also roll out temporary codes that will be issued through the primary account to any of the other users in the household for traveling purposes. So if you're traveling somewhere else and you still want to use the account, they're going to issue you a code that will last for 7 days. And after that, you are required to log back into the account under the primary account holder's IP address. So you have to be back in your general location after 7 days. I don't know if that actually makes sense for them to do that. They're probably going to be a bit more flexible, I'm sure, because some people actually travel for weeks at a time. And I've even known people who have had to go on business trips for at least a month. So that kind of doesn't make sense to me as far as like them only giving you a 7-day code and requiring that you have to be back at the original IP address that's connected to the primary account if you want to use the account. That really doesn't make sense. So how does all this work for not just a consumer, but also for Netflix moving forward? From a consumer standpoint, if you like the service, I guess get another account on your own. Or if you live close to your family members, you'll just have to go to their house every 30 days. Or you'll just have to visit them often, at least so that they can see that you are a part of the primary household, air quotations. And at that point, they may not flag your account, but they'll probably keep an eye on your account. But as far as for other people, like friends who don't necessarily live in the same place as the person's account that they're using, I mean, you may have to consider getting your own account. It's not that expensive, but then also how valuable is it to you to continue using the service or to move into paying for the service? Because they did state there was a survey that was ran where 380 Netflix password borrowers were surveyed, and out of those people, 62% stated that they would not purchase their own membership with Netflix. But 10% did state that they would be willing to get their own $9 or $10 account with Netflix. They also asked them what would be some alternative services that they would prefer over getting a Netflix account. And to be honest, I think they're kind of lying on this first one. So 42% said Amazon Prime Video. The only reason why I feel like they said that is because they have an Amazon Prime account and it comes with the membership. So it's kind of like, that was a little cop-out. I feel like that was a cop-out. I don't think that was genuine, but I get it. 35% stated that they would sign up for Hulu, and 26% stated that they would sign up for Disney Plus. Now, Hulu and Disney Plus comes together as a package. From what I know, it could have changed. I don't think so, but that comes as a dual package. So once you get Disney Plus, you kind of automatically get Hulu. So yeah, no need to buy it separately. But from a business perspective, this is actually a very crucial move that Netflix has to make, and any person in business would understand. If you have no interest in being in business for yourself ever, and you just want to be an onlooker towards the industry, then okay, you have no dog in the fight and you're just here to be an observer. I completely understand. But if you ever get into business, these are things that you have to think about. You have to think about, how can my company be taken advantage of in the wrong ways? And then if those things were to occur, how do we solve those problems? I kind of feel like Netflix sat on this issue for way too long, and they should have jumped on it a lot sooner. They would not be in the position that they're in today if they would have cracked down a long time ago before people got used to doing it. Because at one point, people were afraid to share their Netflix passwords because they knew that it was against the law. But once one person does it and they do it multiple times and they get away with it and they start sharing it, things kind of get out of control. I kind of blame social media for that, because I don't think Netflix would have done anything if it wasn't like a TikTok hack. We're like, oh, tips and tricks on how to get over on XYZ company. So many of those hacks are running rampant on social media. So a lot of companies are scrambling to figure out how to prevent people from taking advantage of things that they're doing out of the kindness of their hearts. A lot of these companies don't have to offer you free services for 3 months, right? They're just doing it because they do want to generate customers, and that's kind of like an easy way to get themselves out there in people's faces and get people to sign up and try out their service for free. But I've seen plenty of services that went from offering a 90-day trial to a 60-day trial to a 30-day trial to a 14-day trial. And I've even seen crappy services saying, oh, we're only willing to let you use our product for 3 days, and after that you have to figure out if you're going to continue to be a customer of ours. A lot of companies are becoming that bold. More so on the finance side of things, they tend to be that bold. But for everyday retail products, they try to be really nice and generous. But people have kind of gotten out of line with taking advantage of companies' kindness. And in this particular situation, Netflix they're kind of the blame for this entire situation getting out of control. It didn't have to become this bad if they would have just cracked down on it years ago. That's kind of my perspective on the situation. And do I feel like Netflix is going to see a rise or a spike in new memberships? Sure, they definitely will. It may not be immediately, but they are giving themselves to the end of the year to kind of see their numbers increase. I would say they should give themselves at least the next 18 months to really see a dramatic uptick. And after that, they can kind of determine whether or not cracking down actually made sense. But that's my 2 cents, and I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation, and stay tuned for more. Catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.